Welcome once again to Veterans Corner with your host, Sal Santori. And this will be the second episode in our series where we're talking about military wives being left behind. And today we visit with Larry Doherty, our veteran and great friend, along with his wife, uh, Anita, who experienced firsthand being left behind. um, as Larry was deployed. And we're gonna really take a look at the fact that there was nothing there in ways of support. Anita, Larry, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on again. I
Oh,
really appreciate it. I know our audience definitely appreciates it. We got a lot of great reviews from the show last week. So this is something that is one of those things that was kind of like really never focused on, just kind of a and even worse, probably not something that was well realized, not very front in the thought process. Like this is an issue, and we know it is. Anita, would you tell us a little bit more? I know we talked last time um, about we lost Anita for just a second. We'll come right back and we'll visit with Anita and Larry as soon as they get back on here. And we're going to talk again about some of the uh, things, Anita's experiences, which are not unique to her. Uh, if you're a military wife or you're the husband of someone deployed, you're going to find out uh, where the lack of supports are. Here we are. I was just mentioning that if you are a military wife or a husband, you're going to find out, if you haven't already, where the lack of supports are and just how that feels and how difficult the challenges are to deal with. So, Anita, back to you again. And I just wanted to ask if you would talk a little bit more about the experience, the suddenness. I remember from last time Larry talked about having a nighttime call to make and find out the next day you were being deployed. I believe, is that accurate?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anita, let's talk a little bit about that immediate sudden impact, that change, that loss.
Um, it's kind of hard to remember. It's been a while, and I kind of block a lot of stuff out. I mean, I just came back from my dad's funeral. It was a little hard too. So
Okay.
it was just a huge difference. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I mean,
Yeah.
like a heavy feeling. I mean, I'm sure that anybody's ever experienced it. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you have no clue. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I wasn't aware that you had just buried your father. I'm very sorry to hear that.
thank
Uh,
you.
we don't have to do this now.
No, no, that's what happened when he. I'm sorry. That's what happened when he was deployed. We had just
Oh,
came
oh,
out of.
oh, I understand. I
Yeah,
understand. Okay.
yeah. I'm just trying
Okay.
to remember a lot of stuff because you just kind of go through what you have to go through. You don't.
Hmm.
That's me anyway. I mean, I don't
Right.
really think too deeply on it. I mean, I just do what I did, what I had to do, and
I don't.
that's what happened at that moment. And I mean, it's kind of hard. Um, I honestly don't remember what I was really thinking. I think it's just, I'm sure I wasn't thinking good thoughts, but I don't remember it exactly. I just,
Yeah, I can tell you're definitely not alone based on the um responses we got this week from other listeners for the show. You were not alone. That was, I would say, across the board. It's like, well, how do people react in that situation? And if you dwell on the misery of it, the pain, the sadness, and the misery, you're going to be stuck. and you're not going to move forward. You're not going to progress. You might not make it through. So the safest way, and the brain protects us, will block all that out and say, all right, you might deal with that later, but not now. Right now, you got living to deal with, and you have, in your case, a child. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was young, so I mean, he was
yeah,
busy. So I mean,
yeah. So you weren't given the opportunity to delve into it and spend a whole lot of emotion on it. It was like, all right, time for action. Yeah,
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 that was it. I had to do what I had to do. I mean,
yeah, yeah. And I speak for Larry. I know he's told you a bazillion times, but as a deployed soldier myself, I'd be very damn proud of you. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we're 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 advocating for change here. Okay, the big picture of what we're doing, in addition to raising awareness and letting other wives know you're not alone. You weren't the lone stranger on that mission. And the big picture is we want to advocate for change. In order to do that, we want to identify some of the weaknesses, some of the things that should be there, and we want to have put in place to support those left behind during deployment. Um, am I correct that there wasn't even anyone to visit with you and say, hey, this is where to find any type of services at all? There was no one came around and did that, if I'm correct.
no, I received one email. I mean, that's literally all I had. I mean, of course, I was also not part of this because when you're in the National Guard, I mean, I don't know what active duty is like, but I mean, you're. I mean, I don't know about everybody's case, but in my case, I was working and I had a child and we had a home, and I wasn't involved in the National Guard part. I mean, that was except for what Larry told me. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Well, I think we also reached another big aha moment on the last show when we realized the huge difference between the National Guard and the active duty, as far as the treatment, the expectations, of lifestyle on both sides.
yeah,
We talked last time about the National Guard. You're leaving your job, your daytime job, as it were, to go serve, to be deployed. Uh, Compared to the active duty, we're training for it. We're there. That is our job. Um, so by the same token, we come from a unit. You know, we're part of a unit. And Larry, I remember you mentioning last time you ended up going down to, it wasn't even your unit where you deployed with. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. We was actually transferred. Me and a few other guys was transferred to the southern part of the state to be with a totally different battalion. Actually, it wasn't even in our same mother battalion. It was a total separate battalion. So
okay?
we didn't know anybody. I mean, we were like the
Right.
state.
So you basically deployed with a group of strangers, and everybody's saying, "Hey, I don't know you. I hope you hold up your end of the deal here."
Yeah, and actually, when we got to Fort Bragg, I didn't get to meet anybody down there at the unit because they were going through different training when we came in because we were a little bit later because of being replacements. So it
Okay.
was probably 3 weeks into training before I even met the platoon that I was going to be assigned with. So and then I think 2 weeks later we were shipped out. So I had basically 2 weeks of training with the guys that I served with.
So to put this into perspective, Larry, you basically walked off of your daytime job, went to, you were part of the Ohio National Guard at that time. Is that
West Virginia National Guard,
West?
yeah.
Okay. So then you went to a fort in West Virginia to go to Fort Bragg. How did that
Uh,
work?
well, actually, I was actually told to report to Elkins, West Virginia for the in processing for the National Guard. And then from Elkins, West Virginia, we were bused down to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And
Okay.
that's where I met the unit that I was deployed with, which was the 150th.
So the only training, the only preparation for combat you had was your regular National Guard training, which is 2 weekends a month. How does that?
1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be blunt. It's like you were wicked ill prepared.
Well, and on top of that, prior to that, of course, it was September 11th, and we were just coming off of military active duty orders from September 11th. So, you know,
Okay.
a lot of the training that we had done previously, we weren't even up to date on because we were busy doing the duties for the armory and for the local municipality airports and things like that. So it was we came off of flood duty first, and September 11th happened, and then after September 11th, we had a little bit of time, but not much for any type of training, which we didn't even know we were going to be deployed until until we got the phone call. So. So you know, everybody thinks that, you know, we prepare for war all the time for the National Guard, but that's not true, because a lot of times we prepare for state emergencies, hence the National Guard.
Right.
And one of the state emergencies was September 11th, and even though that was 2001, it bled into 2002, and we were deployed toward the end of 2003. So we, you know, there wasn't very much time at all to do too much.
Right. So then you get down to Fort Bragg and you have 2 weeks training before you ship out. Is that right?
I had a total of 5 weeks, but 3 weeks was from for other different training. And the folks that I was supposed to be with was actually in Fort Polk, Louisiana. They were doing some specialized training down there.
Okay.
So I was 3 weeks, but we had truck drivers trying to train us infantry guys, which was not very good.
Right.
So
I
and
remember my motor pool. Yeah.
so they actually told us just to sit on the sidelines because it was embarrassing. Fortunately, you know, being with boot camp down at Fort Benning, Georgia, home of the infantry, you know, we still had a lot of that skills ingrained in us.
Right.
But
Never leaves. Yeah.
we ended up we did 3 weeks just for the to catch up to speed, so to speak, and a lot of it was paperwork. And then we had about 2 weeks of training with when the unit came back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I had about 2 weeks to be with them, to train up with them, and then we were deployed. So I mean, it was the honeymoon was cut short.
Wicked. Yeah. Yeah. Well, now, Anita, listening to Larry, it sounds like there were deployments previously that you experienced. So this wasn't your first left behind deployment. Am I right?
Yeah, he had a lot of flood duty too before that. Yeah.
A lot of state duty. Yeah.
State
Okay.
duties.
Okay. But as far as 9/11, where were you then?
Morgantown, West Virginia. So
Yeah.
it was pretty close to the house.
Oh, okay. So you didn't actually deploy overseas at that point. You were still
Yeah.
Okay. So in essence, Anita, this really was your first true left behind while Larry was deployed. He was in a whole nother country.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes he was hard to get in touch with on flood duty too. I mean, but yeah,
Told
I
you
mean,
about drinking, Larry.
I don't know what he's doing. I assume he was down there.
How
Yeah,
do you think I met Larry? No, just kidding.
sometimes I didn't actually get to talk to him for long periods of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know where he was. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing that's full. I mean, I don't really know. I didn't talk to a lot of other wives or husbands or anybody. I mean,
You know,
because I came back.
yeah. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail from the DOD for this, but my observation, I have a lot of fear for National Guard troops. Um, I saw them down in DC, um, and it's like, holy Christmas! These folks are not prepared. They're not trained. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's the DOD. Okay.
Well,
But
I think the biggest thing is too is that the states are responsible for about 80% of the bill for training, and a lot of these states are either not spending the money wisely, or they just don't have the money to spend. And I think that's the biggest problem is the financial burden that the states have.
always comes down to the money. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it should be that way because that's what costs lives.
Yeah.
If you're not trained, that it's going to kill you. And if you don't have the training, you don't have the money, you don't have the training. So it kind of goes all hand in hand.
Yeah, and there's nobody that can convince me National Guard troops can be prepared with 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, unless you come from a previous combat MOS of active duty. There's no way in hell you're going to come green, enlist, serve as National Guard without prior, and really have what you need to survive and do it right. Otherwise, it's God's blessing you by bringing you home, which He does anyway in all cases. But National Guard under 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, no way. There's just not enough there. Not enough there. And again, I'll stand behind that statement. Really, I'll defend it on behalf of National Guard. I think you guys need a hell of a lot more, and whether it's a state responsibility or not, it needs to be done. That's just asking too much.
And I think the biggest thing is that there's some high speed, low drag troops out there, but they're just not given enough. What am I searching for?
I'm not really sure.
Enough time and enough skill set in order to hone their job, because it's not their job, in a sense.
I mean, some people are probably better at it than others. I mean, and units or whatever the people want it. Depends on how young they are too. I would think has something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, being young, it's one thing to be young and be part of active duty. You're going to get a compact experience. But being young and being National Guard, it's like that experience time is stretched out over an incredible amount of time.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the thing is that I've seen that firsthand with a lot of the young troops that only had 2 or 3 years experience. Of course, by the time I went over, I had close to 10 years, I think.
100 years.
Okay.
So it was a little bit easier for me because I wasn't an infantry MOS, and also I was a tanker, as well as a support for motor vehicles as well. So I was able to have all different types. Plus, I enjoyed it, and a lot of guys, and no offense to them, is they do it either for the extra money or they do it for college benefits.
Right.
And so their mind's in the game with the college benefits and things like that. And we had actually 2 guys at the barracks that said that's exactly what they joined for, was the college benefits. Mm-hmm. And they were scared, which I understand. They were young, just married. But the problem is that, like I told them, at one point you're going to have to pay the piper. And
right.
The piper's calling. Right. So, but I mean, with the National Guard, I firmly believe that the National Guard should be used as support, because you have a lot more ability to train as support as versus the like the infantry and things like that, because the cohesion of the National Guard, but you have people coming and going. You have that in active duty too, but not so much. But you
Right.
have people that are coming and going because they're either ETS and they're transferring, they're doing this or doing that. So it's kind of all over. And plus, some folks don't make it to drills. They have excuses, whatever, things like that. So the cohesion of the unit isn't really there. And then I know when we was overseas, we found the cohesion for each individual truck. So we became family, and it was just more or less talking, doing the whole 9 yards, eating together, whatever. But you have to work at the cohesion where on an active duty post, it's there. It's already
Right.
ingrained.
Right. Anita, let's visit back over to some of the things that we want to have in place, and we want to have a way of some type of organizational, uh, for the lack control point, for the lack of a better term. As military folks will know what a control point is, a CP. But that would be our base to be able to start reaching out to the wives if I would say even before deployment, just to establish the relationships, kind of like the USO is at Fort Indiantown Gap, and they're a family support outfit. And I know they have events and they do things, but I don't know how much outreach they do to visit with families who are going to be left behind during deployment. And I don't know how much is done through them during deployment. What I do know is in your case, there was zero. And Fort Indiantown Gap is a National Guard installation. My thought here is there needs to be expansion on that, like beyond the reach of, and we'll just use Fort Indiantown Gap again as like a central location, because that's where the largest National Guard training facility is on the East Coast. Not sure about the country, but I know for the East Coast. So what I'm saying needs to happen is we need to establish locations beyond Fort Indiantown Gap that are in places like Uniontown, that have maybe a 50-mile radius, and then possibly another one, so that we have coverage. There is some place to reach out to. There is the outreach from the National Guard units or the USO units, so that they can come out and visit with you, or at least be available, that you can reach them and say, my husband just deployed. We have a young child. What support services are available as far as other wives just getting together and talking? Kids whose father is now out of the picture. Are these things that tell me a little bit more about what you would like, what you would do well for you and other wives in this situation?
Well, I didn't really know anybody. There was one that went with you, whatever, you came back to Fort Bragg or whatever and stuff, and I met her one time, but that was just a fluke. We met at a fireworks. I mean, it wasn't like a number to reach would be good. I mean, just to call and ask questions. Like when I had problems with the TRICARE, someone besides waiting until middle of the night when Larry could talk to me. I mean, just information. I mean, groups would be good too for people with young children. I mean, older children. I mean.
Well, I think the family support group is supposed to do that, but I think they failed.
Well, you were West Virginia was part of it too, and it's like we were in limbo and then they moved you from a different unit in West Virginia to a different unit down. Oh my goodness, 100 miles from Charleston. So I mean, it was. It was a long way down there. I mean, I went down there one time. That's after you came back.
Yeah. And, I mean, something should be centrally located for the families as far as to be able to just a phone call or to walk in and ask questions and things like that, because the family support group obviously is run by family, and some of them are great, some of them are not so great, and
Right.
they're also here's the biggest thing, Sal, is they're also dealing with their own husbands or spouses that's being deployed too. So their head is not really in the game either, and we can't blame them for that because they're in the same boat. And somebody outside the organization probably should step up and take charge and say, listen, this is what needs to be done. Here's the information. How can we help you guys do this or do that? And I think one of the biggest things of this too is that people tend to forget that the families that are home need help. I mowed the grass the whole time. All of a sudden, I'm gone. Nobody's mowing the grass. Help like that. Yeah, you were. But the biggest thing is that not stepping in, but just kind of giving a hand up to if somebody's in dire straits or something like that, just to say, hey, we're here. And I think that's what really needs to come together, especially for the National Guardsmen and the reservists, because when you're living on active duty bases, you have people that come around and mow the grass and take care of the maintenance and things like that. But here, all of a sudden, especially if you don't have family close to you, and a lot of guys didn't, their wives are stuck with nobody. So they're trying to figure out, how to fix a pipe, how to do this, how to do that. And it'd be nice to see an organization come together and, you have different volunteers. Hey, listen, I know you're deployed or your husband's deployed. So you're able, hey, you have a plumbing leak. Hey, Joe the plumber offers to fix things at cost even, and to help the families out and things. Not so that people are being taken advantage of, but on the other hand, some place where, you don't have to search the internet or people that's already been vetted to help these people out.
Right. Some type of what I'm hearing is like some type of resource center. Yeah, where questions can be asked, and you were mentioning about, some of the folks who would be helping facilitate would also have folks deployed, which would affect their ability to be, involved, which would make the need for something like this, I would think, even more important because it would give them a resource as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, even if it's just a phone number as a resource center that people can call and say, I have a question. I have no idea where to go with it. But you just reach the resource center. So the people manning the resource center would be the kind of folks who would say, okay, great. I don't know the answer to that, but let's find out together.
Yeah. And I think it would take a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and anxiety off of the folks back home, knowing that they can pick up a phone and call and find out instead of having to search through a lot of things. Because I know you didn't have any numbers or anything like that, so it was kind of hard.
I mean, I didn't know where to go to get them either.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right,
not really a lot of preparedness. I mean, sometimes too, that if they're thinking about sending a unit, they need to prepare their families. And I mean,
I agree.
I mean, it would be nice. I mean, because they would know who to contact. I mean, they would know what's happening. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise.
No, and I think, the part of the military propaganda, if you will, is that strong families are part of the whole thing, but it never goes beyond the statement. And you're a total example of that being true. It never went beyond a statement. It's like, yes, families are vitally important. Oh, okay. Now that we've said it, let's go shoot them up.
Well, the National Guard always says we are family, but where's the family?
They don't even know how to spell it, right?
The stress off of Larry if he'd not. I mean, if I hadn't had to call him and ask him questions, if I just knew who to talk to. I mean,
Right.
That's my feelings on it, but
no, I think
experiences. I mean, probably some worse. I mean,
I think we just found a really great starting point as a result of our conversation. Some type of uh, family assistance or family service number that can be called. And then the thing behind that is to make sure everybody knows about it.
Yeah,
You
that,
know,
Yeah.
yeah, which we can do. You know, we can do. We reach out to everybody we can and ask them to reach out and on and on and on. Who knows? The VA may even want to pick up on it and go, hey, you know,
Well, and I think one of the biggest things is to get the resources to the National Guard's armory, the local armories and things like
yeah,
that,
okay.
and and maybe go through the family support group to a certain extent as far as having them dissipate the information, because that would be a good resource for them to be helpful prior to any deployment, and say, hey, listen, keep this number here just in case you get deployed, and here's information that you can call for, and things like that.
Well, I do want to make this well known. The 988, the crisis line, which is 988 pound one, can be called from any phone anywhere. It's not like a short number for secured military lines. It can be just dial 988 pound one. You will get a live person. Um, I've used it several times with veterans, and each time it's been like really a blessing. We got some great people answering their phones, knowledgeable, patient, empathetic, understanding, and caring. You know, they weren't just trying to get through the day and punch a clock. So we've had some really good success with that. At the same time, it's not only for suicide issues. It can be used, it really can be used for something as basic as saying, I don't know what to do. You know, my husband's deployed. Um, I don't know what to do about this, whatever it is under the sun, until we get further along that we can get family resource centers up and running. This is, we'll have to rely on this number and have folks call it. You know, so if you're watching the show, um, in place of having an actual resource center at the moment, just use the 988 pound and dial one, and you will get a live person and just explain to them what your need is, and they will respond willingly. Larry and Anita, we have quickly run out of time today again, uh, but we made a major accomplishment once again. Last time we discovered you're never alone. We discovered there's like zero support for families left behind. And today we've kind of come to a solution, how we can begin to build a solution. So, yeah, we did it. We've made a major accomplishment. Thank you both. And again, I really love having you on the show. And until next week, as always, please remember, find someone to help.